Okay, this is easy to fix. We'll just remove that. Okay, cool. As I was saying. Okay.
This is Lee Honan. You are listening to the Night Shift podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. Night Shift live in the building. What's going on, everybody? What an amazing game. Listen, I hope you I hope you had your heart pills with you, folks, because they were necessary. The term cardiac nights, living the dream here. UCF's first Big 12 game is now its first Big 12 win of the season there at Fort Worth, Texas. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Around me here is Jeff Sharon, founder of the Black and Gold Banneret, and our very own, the incomparable Bryson Turner, coming in to bring you the post-game instant reaction here by way of the Night Shift powered by the Black and Gold Banneret. And gentlemen, we knew there would be close games, but there was hope to be lost early on. 21 or 21. I think 21 point deficit at one point.
28-7 in the third quarter after that first touchdown. It was not pretty.
You know,
we've been there before, and it never ends well.
I'll grant you this much credit, Jeff. Like you were saying at one time, it felt like Kansas. I don't think it ever felt that bad at the time, but it certainly seemed like TCU was moving the ball at will. But enough about that. We'll get to a little bit of that later here as we analyze this beast. But RJ Harvey doing RJ Harvey things once again. It's just an amazing thing to see him just play football in general. Of course, he had 2 touchdowns on the night, and my favorite play from him was the wheel route, showing his versatility. I mean, Jeff, you, me, and Bryce were talking about historical context for RJ Harvey. Just talk about how big he was in this football game.
Man, he was. You know, I do think we're looking at the best running back that UCF has had since Kevin Smith right now, because that was an impressive performance. He was grinding out yards when UCF needed them. They had, if you had a 3rd and 4, he got you 6. If you had a 3rd and 2, he got you 4. 29 carries, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them receiving, actually. He had a 29-yard touchdown run receiving.
Yeah.
This was a real gutsy performance. And let's also, Kyle, I know you're going to love this. Let's also pour a little bit out for that offensive line today, because they allowed, I know you like that, but the O-line allowed UCF in a game where they trailed by as many as 3 touchdowns, grinded out 289 rushing yards on the road in 95-degree heat. You know, that was an impressive performance by that offensive line.
I'll say this. I know it's Texas. I don't necessarily expect humidity in Texas. I don't know much about the weather cycle in Texas.
Bro, in Texas, 95 is 95, man. It hurts out there. And they stuck to the game plan and got it done.
But that's the punch. This is what Gus has been talking about all throughout the season and about preparation during camps and various times of the year leading up to it, how he was working these guys hard in our very own Florida heat and humidity. If you saw the pregame video dropped by Jake Ferraro, who will be joining us shortly, he mentioned too, it was hot and steamy there in Texas. Listen, fortunately, it was a night game. They had that working for them. Okay, that doesn't mean
that's. By the way, I think that's what makes it more frustrating is when it's nighttime and it's that hot, and you're like, "What the hell, man? The sun is down."
Exactly. I know it's quit by now. But Bryson, what do you make of the offense's performance? What kind of stood out? What did you enjoy on the evening?
I mean, KJ, RJ, and Kobe really put the offense on their backs for a lot of this. I mean, Jeff, you talked about how RJ is probably the best running back that UCF has had since Kevin Smith. I'll wager you this. what this running back situation is right now is if you put Kevin Smith in the UC Fast era and give him a compliment in the form of a Greg McCray or Adrian Killens, because you see what Johnny Richardson was able to do to get that clutch first down on there. Like Kevin Smith had to basically do everything himself. RJ Harvey not only is basically Kevin Smith if he had help. And we're seeing the dividends of that right here as RJ Harvey's continuing to climb up the charts of UCF history with a supporting cast of the likes of Randy Pittman, Miles Montgomery, and Johnny Richardson along the way. Just absolutely clutch performance from the offense, despite the fact that the special teams program was seemingly like trying to sabotage.
He is a bit to go after these dudes, isn't he? We'll get there. Down. We'll get there, buddy. You know how much I love watching feisty prices. We gonna get there. I promise. But real quick, Jeff, let me get this.
Yeah, go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Adjust to your take with Kevin Smith and all that. You say RJ Harvey is Kevin Smith would help. What I'm saying is RJ Harvey may be Kevin Smith without living in a world where there are other mouths to feed. Maybe he has fewer touches overall because that team was just Kevin Smith on the ground, right?
Well, it was those 5 guys in front of him too. Let's not
correct.
Forget.
Yeah, offensive line. Excuse me. But yeah, no, I mean, I get it too. But as far as people who are under the weight of 300 pounds, right? Like there wasn't a world where the running back was sharing running carries and touches with him in the form of, be it John Rice Plumlee or KJ Jefferson, who actually had a pretty good running night himself. We can talk about that a little bit too. But, there was no Johnny Richardsons or Isaiah Bowser's or, down the list, Penny Boone, anybody. I'm sure you mentioned Johnny Richardson. There we go. The long list of running backs that are Miles Montgomery now. The long list of running backs to also have to get carries and fed mouths. Kevin Smith didn't have that particular quantitative problem. I'm not saying Kevin Smith is worse or anything like that. I'm just saying about pure volume and data and opportunity. So anyways, but yeah, listen, we've celebrated some, we've got our thing. I will say this. I wrote down in my notebook in the first drive, missed opportunities because obviously there was the first big bomb play, which looked amazing. I think that was the second play of the game. First
Kobe was open on the inside, and I don't know. We were talking about it. I don't know if KJ missed it or if Kobe kind of turned the route inside a little too much, or not enough, I should say. But that was open, and I thought, oh man, that would have been a nice shot on that first drive, because I mean, we know Gus likes to take a shot on that first possession if he has the opportunity, right, just to get a big play in. It's always a big momentum driver. And we just missed on that one. I was like, man, that would have been nice on the road,
That first drive was the first play was a run to Harvey, which was good, but could have been longer if tight end turn kicker Evan Morris actually completes a block, the guy that eventually makes the tackle. That could have been 20 yards and maybe one broken tackle to the house. We mentioned the big ball to Kobe. And then the third down that would have converted, Jacoby Jones drops, and then it's a 3-and-out to open the game. And here comes TCU going absolutely nuts. What was it? 7 of the first 7 third
They were
downs.
8 for 8. 8 for 8 on their first. I think it was their first 8. They converted their first 8 third downs.
I couldn't remember if it was 7 or 8. Thanks.
Yeah, it was somewhere. Actually, I might be wrong. I think it was 8 for the first 8, but it almost overshadowed the fact that, and and you see me looking to the side because I'm looking at my side monitor here, that UCF was 11 for 16 on third downs in this game, including converting several key ones in the second half.
That's a wonderful point too. Yeah.
UCF actually ended up with a better percentage on third down than TCU did for the game, if you can believe it.
I'll see that and raise you. How long have we been reminded all week by our favorite friend and skeptic and alleged fan, Eric Lopez? Oh, this isn't New Hampshire or Sam Houston. They had worse third down conversion rates against those teams. It doesn't make any damn sense, Jeff Sharon. And yet, here we are.
No, this is why it makes sense. We're a Big 12 team now. Of course we're going. Of course, we're gonna do that with offense and no defense.
And listen, I joke, but I think there's an element to a lack of, I don't want to say familiarity, but UCF is a different entity in this Big 12 conference, right? This is a team that will punch you in the mouth and run the football. That is not a typical making of a Big 12 team. But Kyle, Big 12 teams ran all over UCF. That was more about UCF's defense than it was.
I mean,
the other.
This is Big 12 conference play, people. Like, you're not going to roll people over unless they have a really bad day or they have given up on their season late. I thought that, and here's the actual key, I think, with UCF on third downs, average third down distance to go. UCF's average third down distance was 4.9 yards. TCU's was 6.2. There was only, UCF had only one third down that was 9 or more in this game. So what does that tell you? They were able to keep it in third and manageable by rushing the football so well overall. And we talk about first down, and I just want to get this one in here. And we talk about, one of the keys was on first downs. UCF gained 262 yards on first down. That's 7.5 yards per play on first down in this game. That's going to get you in really good positions overall. I think that, and it comes down to running the football. It comes down to the offensive line, and and again, when you needed that extra couple yards in key situations, that's where RJ Harvey, got it done. And it wasn't just RJ either. We saw Johnny Richardson on that one key third down, lean forward and get a couple extra. It was really, it was an impressive performance. Where I was thinking, like, during the game, I was like, the way this game is playing out in the box score, you're going to look at that. You're going to look at this and be like, man, we should have figured out a way to win this thing. How did we not? And then in the fourth quarter, we just got it done. And that was obviously RJ, but it was also KJ. And I do want to also huge shout out to the Joker, Deshaun Pace, on that one key 3 and out that UCF had to force on TCU to get the ball back for a chance to take the lead. And he made 3 tackles on all 3 plays.
One of them out of bounds, so the clock was stopped too. By the way,
right? That was wow. That was one of those plays that they talk about where, like, Deshaun just came in and he said, "I'm taking over this game right now." What a find he's been.
Oh yeah.
Real quick,
I mean, this is there's hosannas to pass out all over the place, but this is great. Go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry.
I have to go to that series though, Jeff. There was the third down where they ran the screen. I think it was third down where they ran the
second down.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Bryson. Where they ran the screen, the entire defensive front recognized it, picked it up, and attacked it. And I think this is the one where they had the tackle out of bounds too. This group being that confident and still being able to take a control of a series like that this late in the game, one where they were boondoggled for 7, one of the 2, we'll call it 7 for now, 7 straight third down conversions, and just to bounce back to make it a second half. I think the stat for second half conversions was, obviously it was a lot better. I think it was 3 for 7 by the end of the game. And just because it was 10 for 15 overall, and I just mathed. So there you go. For the remaining of
congratulations, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. It was 3 for 7 to finish up the game. Hey, that was pretty good from the hip. Don't hate Jeff.
It's not bad. It's
engineering college. I hope I have a little bit of math, right? No, but listen, joking aside, the ability for these guys to step in, do what they did, and bounce back to give them just enough defense, kind of like you expect to happen in a Big 12 game, by the way, at the end, to get back in. Like, I think you and I said off here going into the show, Jeff, this is what reverse Baylor would look like from last year, right?
Yeah. This was a reverse Baylor game. I mean, remember the game last year, we had a 29-point lead at home in our Big 12 opener and lost the game by 1. This was a game where in our Big 12 opener on the road, we were down 21 and came back to win by 1 on the road. And I just wanted to correct myself. for a little bit earlier. TCU was 7 of their first 7 on third downs, but that was all in the first half.
Right.
UCF in the second half, so they were 7 of 8. Or TCU was 7 of 8 on third downs in the first half. Second half, UCF was 7 of 8 on third downs.
That's wild. That's a stat, Jeff Sharon. Well, and listen, the other element that led to the huge deficit early on, here comes your cue, Bryson, was these special teams of it all. They didn't really have an opportunity to punt the ball early simply because Sonny Dykes' offense was moving like that. But the special teams, Bryson, listen, I've been watching football probably as long as you've been alive. Sir, I have never, ever seen 3 block kicks in a single football game.
Absolutely. I mean, I cannot believe we won this football game after doing that. Because that rarely happens where you get block kicks like that and yet you win. And of course, the irony of all of this is that TCU loses the game because they missed a kick. Because that's how college football works.
Well, I mean, to be fair, 100% fair, Bryson, they did state in the telecast, Fox did, that the last time TCU blocked 3 kicks in a game was in 2013. That was 11 years ago.
Same as the Louisville game. The last time UCF came back from 21 points in the third.
So that was, and that does tie, actually, and you're right, that does tie the largest comeback in school history. Shout out to Garrett Weiss, who said none of the missed kicks are on Boomer. That's true. There were some. All right. I'll let Bryson handle that one.
He's been ready to attack this. Go for it.
Yeah, he's been chomping at the bit for the last half hour.
Oh yeah, none of the Garrett Weiss, none of the missed kickers are Boomer. You are absolutely right on that front. Last year it was the kickers. This year now it's the blockers that apparently are not doing their jobs. I don't know who it's going to be, because the thing is that I feel like Herb Hand was not coaching that line, because a Herb Hand line would have made those blocks. I don't know how you end up allowing them around you 3 different times.
They must have seen some sort of exploit on film. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with.
They were attacking that outside edge. That's how they were getting in there, right? And you mentioned, none of Herb Hand's got. It's not like they're busting through the middle and like these are guys that are auditioning, for the next Deadpool movie to play Juggernaut or Colossus. It's not what happened here, right? This was a speed play. Eric Lopez would make a comment about Big 12 athletes here. And in this instance, he'd be absolutely right. Somebody was taking a track meet to the outside, and some of the outside needed to man up and hit a dude. And that last time, obviously, that took place. And I see a comment here that makes a pretty good point, too, quoting from Team Pennington. 2 weeks to figure out the kick protection. Hey, listen, if you're going to have things you need to fix after a win, the only other thing that could be better is to have a bye to do it. And that's a good point there overall, too, as well.
Yeah.
But Bryson.
This is an obvious issue that it's like everyone's like, okay, we got to tighten this thing up now. So I'm not worried about that the rest of the way. Like you were saying, Bryson, the irony was, TCU had a shot to win the game on a 57-yarder at the gun. How big was the play before that where they didn't get the extra 4 yards or three or 4 yards that they would make to make it a slightly more manageable kick? And then they had to kick it. And that freshman kicker that they had, boy, he gave it a ride. It was wide right. I thought it would. I couldn't tell. We'll probably ask Jake when he gets in. I thought it was long enough. I don't, but it was definitely wide. I don't know.
I knew if they were going to miss that kick, it was going to go wide. To me, you don't trot your field goal kicker out there unless you're Nick Saban with 1 second left in 2013 in Jordan-Hare Stadium, that you're going to you don't trot your kicker out there unless you know he's going to make the distance. It's just a matter of the accuracy. And when I saw
if he has the chance to make the distance, that's
and when I saw that it was a true freshman kicker, I'm like, this is the best time to have a true freshman kicker come out. in this scenario right here. I think Brian Blackman is really lucky that Michael Pittman had a really good game, by the way, because he's both the tight ends coach and the special teams coordinator. Because he really needs to. I don't know if like maybe he needs to consult with Herb Hand about coaching lines. Like maybe that. I don't know if Kyle, you're the beef expert here. So what do offensive line coaches, factor in to lines for field goal units, or is it more of a different thing? Can it be transferable?
So you're asking for me to know about things in practice that we don't get to see in practice. And listen, I'm
just saying from a general standpoint, from like your experience as beef.
I'm getting there. And listen, from what I did get to see and what clips you saw on the Black and Gold banner at Instagram, I can tell you that the chances are that, if there's some sort of technique to correct, Coach Hand theoretically would get involved in helping with that, if that's happening. But again, these are things that are happening on the edge. I feel like, Coach Blackman would get involved with that and need to adjust that. And who knows? It may have had to have been an in-game adjustment. Granted, something that happened a little too late. But in that particular scenario, you don't get a lot of effort and a lot of reps in a game at special teams if things are going a particular way, right? This is something where you got to come in cold and then do it. And that I think that aspect had a little something to do with as well.
If I could to just pop in here, they got the job done on what turned out to be the game-winning extra point. So, that's clearly the adjustment was made.
Yeah, I referred to that. You're exactly right. So. And, I think there's something here worth mentioning as well too. Jeff always likes to bring up the other guys are on scholarship too. Those TCU's receivers were tough kids and giving us fits. Listen, Savion Williams has an NFL.
Oh, that dude! Oh man, we're gonna see him for a while.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget about Jack Beck too.
Beck was a big guy as well.
Yeah, Besh had a career high. He had 9 catches for 200 yards on 11 targets, and 1 touchdown. Now, part of that was he was in a battle with Brandon Adams, and Brandon got hurt. I couldn't tell if he cramped up or what. I thought it was cramps, but I guess it must have been worse because Antoine Jackson came in, and as the second Antoine went in for BJ, they just started picking on him, and it kind of wasn't fair.
Yeah. The whole
Besh was,
yeah.
I'm watching this guy Besh, and he's like, God, we are going to get roasted by another Wes Welker freaking guy over here, and
this guy's big.
Well, slight somewhat, but no, he was fantastic. But Kyle, you're right. I was really impressed with Savion Williams. That guy is a problem. And to be fair, the fact that they had to go to Besh so much shows the job that the secondary did on Savion Williams. Yeah, they're not going to their number 2 guy. Geez, Williams is 6'5". The 2 touchdowns he caught, the second one where he was twisting in the air like that's insane. I haven't seen a receiver pull those kinds of athletic moves. But we did a pretty good job on Savion overall. The 4 catches he got, high results, but that was why they had to go to Besh and Richardson. Because we did a good job on him.
He had the big ball and just got behind him. In my opinion, to me, the 2 touchdowns that I thought were the most I could be most critical of is what I'll say was the first one. That wasn't to Richardson. I forget the name of the receiver that did it.
Eric McAllister caught the first one.
Right. He's cut in where there's safety help. You should have already had the out covered. Instead, you followed it too far. Bam. He hits a thing. He comes out. Gets very easily hit by Howard. That to me, but it's early game, right? Hey, DB isn't my craft. Maybe there's something else going on there that I don't know. I'll completely grant it. And then too, where you mentioned the long ball where they get behind 2 defensive backs.
Yeah.
That to me doesn't fly. There's a comment here I want to address that makes a very good point here about UCF's scoring drive, such as they were. And, I wanted to kind of confirm that here as much as I can with the chart. For those that can actually see it, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't. But what it points out is very interesting. He mentions every scoring drive was at least 72 yards. Technically not accurate, but hey, when your lowest yardage in scoring drives is 56 yards, you're looking pretty good. That's just kind of that.
That's TCU's drive chart, Kyle.
Yeah, you're looking at TCU's drive chart, Kyle. I have it right here.
I have glasses on, so I can actually see.
Here's what I've got. Here's what I've got, Kyle. The first of all, the missed field goal or the first block field goal, 10 plays, 46 yards. First touchdown, 7 plays, 75. The second field, the one where I thought was the killer at the end of the first half was 16 plays, 79. We got nothing out of that. Then second half, ready? 8 plays, 75 touchdown. 3 plays, 75 touchdown. 10 plays, 80 touchdown. 6 plays, 18 punt. 10 plays, 72 touchdown. That's as good as it gets in the second.
Listen, credit to Mark. Yeah, that's a feat, man. When you're doing it like that, here's what I have to lead with here. UCF is always going to score slowly throughout a game. If they come out and have to, tune up a little bit and get right in the first quarter, as this team did here, then that's where that's what's going to happen with a running team like this.
I guess fans are probably going to have to get used to that too, because I saw a lot of people go just bail off the wagon or something like that about halfway through this game. To the point, by the way, I just saw a notification that the Kingdom NIL tweeted for those that canceled at halftime, searching for the link to rejoin. I love that so much.
Great.
Honestly, I was
Eric Lopez. That would be nice.
Yeah, right.
And I will expose myself a little bit because I definitely was at that point a little bit. I was angry. I was definitely getting angry midway through this one. I think only partly because things look so promising coming into this game from what we saw for the most part in Sam Houston and New Hampshire. And then you go do this and you're getting blocked on an extra point. Like when you're doing that, it's like, I said it earlier, you don't win ball games when you do that. And yet UCF still found a way to do it. So like, it's a really interesting mix of emotions right now.
I do want to come back to something that I see in the comments.
I was just something. Are you going to substitutions, Jeff?
Yeah. I do want to talk about that because I think that there's a clarification that has to be dropped in here. And Kyle, you were bringing this up. We were talking about this live during the game. So Garrett Weiss said, Gus was getting mad when TCU was substituting players after we did the same. And then he said, he caused 2 timeouts to be used because of that decision. So Gus was upset for a particularly good reason. Now the rule is, and I felt like Mark Helfrich on the telecast probably could have done a much better job of explaining this. Now, the rule is if you do not huddle, but you substitute, then the defense is permitted to substitute. And that's why you see the officials run over, stand over the ball. And then according to the rule book, the defense has, here's what happens. The defense has 3 seconds to decide to substitute. If they decide to substitute, then the guys who go off the field have to go off as quickly as humanly possible and then be replaced. Now, the problem is it's up to the officials' discretion how long they take. There's no set time limit. I can't remember if there used to be a time limit or not. I felt like there was something about 7 seconds to get on and off the field. But either way, the way the rule is being interpreted now is the officials stand over the ball, and if the defensive players are taking a little bit too long, then they kind of like
gagging in a fashion.
They're almost like allowed to
during the game to stop a no huddle offense. For example.
Yeah, it's almost like they're allowed to lollygag because the officials, it's up to their discretion to determine whether or not they are determine whether or not they're getting off the field in a timely manner or not. And a couple of times TCU was running guys, kind of
seconds, Jeff.
15 seconds you counted at least. Yeah.
Get off.
And that's what Gus was really upset about is, hey, they are taking too much time. You need to get on them about that. And they weren't doing it. I think this is something that's probably going to come up in the offseason about how we're going to, because it is starting to be a real problem where the defense just has no specific, no specific guidelines about that. And I think that's, it is a real problem because, then you're just putting you're putting too much power in the officials' hands from a subjective point of view, which not even the officials like, right?
Yeah,
because then they're forced to make an interpretation and they're put in a bad position. I think we're probably going to have to see eventually a rule come up saying, they have 3 seconds to decide to substitute. And then if they do, they have another 7 seconds to get those players on and off the field. And then the official can run off the ball. But that was a legit complaint from Gus because, and we got another quick comment from Flies says, could that count as a delay of game? Technically it could on the defense if they are warned prior to that.
Yeah.
And they are like verbally warned. It's almost like, like you see in soccer, like, hey, don't do that again. Get on and off the field quicker. But in this case, they didn't do that. Now, I'm sure there have been some occasions where an official has flagged the defense for a delay of game for not getting the substitutes in on and off the field quick enough when requested. But again, some officials are going to be, they're human. Some officials are going to be, more stringent about that than others. And so I think that they kind of botched. I don't want to say they botched it, but
no, they botched it, Jeff. I'll say 15 seconds. Forget it.
15 seconds to get on and off the field is a lot, and they took advantage of it. And Lopez is going to drop in here and try and say we're wrong, and
because you both are. You both. Kai, you do that again, and that's it. So knock it off. You guys are ridiculous about this rule. It is a rule. God forbid the defensive players actually get a rule that benefits.
That's not what was argued. If you're gonna have this discussion,
Eric, that's not what was argued. The argument is there's way too much room for interpretation.
Good. And let be at the officials, and when you see how they're calling it, adapt. That's it. That's all you gotta do is adapt. Quit bitching at the ref and adapt. That's all you gotta do.
Wait, adapt. How can you adapt when it changes from week to week?
No, it doesn't. Not in this game.
Of course, it changed from week to week. It could change from time to time.
Consistent. All game.
But they're not consistent, Eric. You know that.
They were.
They're not consistent.
Oh my God. Why are we
They're never consistent about this. You know this.
Why are we talking about this crap after a 21-point comeback? It's absurd.
Because somebody on the chat asked about it.
Gus was wrong. That's on Gus. That's not on the refs.
It's on the refs. It's on the refs.
I have that opinion. That's fine. But here's the thing. If you wanted adjustment, Elo, by the end of the game, didn't you get it?
Hey, here's an idea. How about you don't get 3 of your kicks blocked, and we're not even in this situation where you need a miracle.
That's irrelevant to what we're talking about right now.
About kicks, Jeff, and he just moved the goalpost. Anyway,
yeah.
So
hey, let me ask you both. What was the excuse when they didn't score at the end of the half in Lubbock last year? Are we going to blame the refs for that too? How many freaking times?
That's also irrelevant to what we're talking about.
They followed the rules. Credit TCU for using it to their advantage. Learn how to huddle.
Listen,
learn how to huddle.
It was a move by Sonny Dykes to utilize that. It got egregious. Okay.
Yeah, and it was definitely egregious. And by the way, Sonny Dykes runs a no huddle. They weren't complaining about it. Why not?
He's an idiot, but that's a whole other story. What a buffoon! Can't even run
okay, so he's an idiot now.
Yeah, he is. Sonny Dykes, yeah, absolutely. We now know that TCU was a fluke 2 years ago. They couldn't win a close game last year. Like, hey, run the ball once in a while.
Can
But
somebody
anyway.
keep up with this? I sure as heck can't.
Look, Eric, I know you guys want me to do something. I'll do something. So Eric, this is not no Eric, this is look, heel. This is not this was clearly not a perfect ball game. It was clearly not a perfect ball game.
Two teams. Yeah, agreed. I agree with you. I agree with you on that.
We still won the game, which is great. But there's definitely a time to be angry. I needed the time to be angry.
I'm just saying, quit bitching about the officiating.
If I may,
there's a difference, though.
Eric,
there's a difference between
talk about the football game itself and not about anything else right now. So if you gentlemen can settle the bleep down, let's bring in.
Well, here's the last thing I'll say on this is it's going to become a bigger problem as the season progresses, and that's something that is going to have to be addressed. And I'm sure that the rules committee will address that.
What are we going to do?
I'm sure that the
offense wants to run their.
I'm sure that the rules committee will address this as the season continues.
We're done with this topic. I'm gonna start muting people. This is ridiculous.
You guys started it, not me.
Anyway, let's bring in Jake Ferraro, who helped us out. Our special Big 12 correspondent coming in from who covered the game for us down in Fort Worth and got a hold of the post game. Jake Ferraro is with us now. Jake, what a game we decided that you went to here tonight, man. I'll tell you, it was looking pretty dark there for a while, but you were there and you got to witness a game that was tied for the largest comeback in UCF history, a 21-point comeback. First of all, give us your general thoughts from this really remarkable night.
First of all, thank you guys for letting me cover the game for the banner. Jeff, by the way, the post game is available, and Gus's post game is in that link. I don't know when you want to submit it. First things first, out of the way. But secondly, I think all three would agree. Nobody saw that coming when they were down 21-0, or when they were down 21 in the third quarter after TCU just converted on the 50-yard bomb. I thought all hope was gone, and I actually thought TCU was going to run away with it. But give UCF credit. They responded with that touchdown from Harvey, and then the defense slowly held them to field goals, and that was very important. And then UCF was able to get touchdowns out of it, which for the first half, it looked like it was struggling, and they found a way to do it. This was a phenomenal win. As soon as I leave the press box, the one thing a TCU fan says immediately, that was the worst loss I've ever seen in person. So you can see the frustration right there.
Let me ask you this: what was the turning point? Like, where was the part that you sensed the momentum had flipped?
When they got the 2-point conversion, they needed a field goal at least down there to make it a 1-possession game, because even if they got a field goal out of it, it would have been an 8-point game. So they're not completely out of it. But Harvey took it to the house, and then he got the 2-point conversion. And that was when I was like, okay, something might be brewing here. And then the break that UCF got was the false start when TCU had it inside the 2-yard line to push them back 5 yards. If that false start does not happen, TCU may have punched it in. We don't know. But that was the big break that they got to get the win in this one.
Yeah, that's. I think if you're TCU, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I didn't mention it earlier. That was a huge penalty on their part, on a 3rd and goal inside the 1, and
that's a penalty you just can't have.
Yeah, that's a huge penalty. And I did want to come back, and I wanted to point out, when UCF was down 31-13 after Lemmerman hit that field goal. That quick drive right afterwards toward the end of the third quarter where it was what was it, Bryson? I think it was, 3 plays, 75 yards in 1 minute and 2 seconds to get
that was 7, what they needed.
Yeah,
that's what they needed right there.
That was that 27-yard touchdown pass to Kobe Hudson. And that cut it to 31-20. And you're kind of approaching the fourth quarter thinking, okay, this is still a 2-score game. If we get 1 stop and a score, and we are right in the heart of this thing. For me, I thought that things kind of flipped there. But you're right. TCU did have the chance to wrap it up, and that drive was right after the drive with the penalty that you mentioned, Jake. It was that was a pretty significant turn of events. That whole flip of momentum there.
Absolutely. If that penalty doesn't happen, like I said, if it doesn't happen, TCU probably gets a touchdown on that, and it's back to a 2-possession game. That was a big break. But you know what, Bryson, Eric, we were killing this guy for the first 2 games with underperforming, but when UCF needed KJ Jefferson the most, he came through with a game-winning drive.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
You were a little bit on it too, but one thing's for sure, though, at the end of the day, Eric, he came through when they needed to, and he prevailed with a drive. No panic whatsoever, and that was very confident.
That was a clutch throw to Kobe on the touchdown pass. Dude, KJ finished 13 of 22 for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles, and he also rushed the ball 9 times for 46 yards and got some really tough yards, especially I think in the first half. Somebody mentioned in the comments, I didn't see that Jake. Did he get hurt at some point during the game?
No, he didn't get hurt at all. But Jake, you're right.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
No quarterback since Mackenzie Milton wins that game tonight. No quarterback that has played at UCF since Mackenzie Milton would won that game tonight. That is why KJ is here, is for this type of games on the road in atmospheres like that. Because I don't care how good your running game is, you're going to have to make throws, and he did that. He did that, to your point, Jake. You're right.
Exactly. And Eric, he actually talked about, he said that's why it came to UCF for moments like this. He talked about that in the postgame.
Yeah. And by the way, how sweet is it for him too to get this win over TCU when Kendall Briles was his offensive coordinator at Arkansas for 3 seasons. He mentioned that.
For the record, he talked about in the postgame when he was in high school, TCU was his dream school actually to play for. So a little extra motivation with that.
Interesting.
Hey, Jake, we talked about this on the podcast earlier this week when we talked about Josh Hoover. The fact that I don't think we've actually really mentioned it. We talked about his receivers, but 35 of 52 for 402 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't know about you guys, but UCF fans may remember Dylan Gabriel's game against Memphis, where he absolutely balled out and he still
threw
lost
for 600 yards. That was a school record.
Yeah,
exactly, and it's still lost. I feel like that in a way, Josh Hoover had a game where he absolutely killed it and probably did almost everything you probably could have asked out of him, and yet they still lost. And also they threw the ball a ton. But after everything we talked about him earlier the weekend, what did you think about UCF's spending?
Well, Hoover lit him up in the first half. The whole strategy, it really was just throw the ball. TCU, I don't even know if they had 60 yards rushing, and I think when they were up by double digits, they should have ran the ball more, so they could have took more time off the clock, but they decided to keep throwing it, and you live by the pass, you die by the pass, I guess. They kept going to Hoover, but Hoover's a talented quarterback. Gus even talked about postgame. The guy's got talent. He's a talent.
Yeah, Jake, just to reiterate what you were saying at the end, I really was really impressed with him in this game. I think that, again, this one kind of comes down, and Eric, I know you're probably going to agree with me on this, believe it or not. With Hoover throwing for 402 yards, this one kind of comes down on Sonny Dykes. The run pass difference in this game on 70 total plays for TCU. I'm trying to pull up the rushing versus passing. So 70 total plays, and they passed on 52 of them. They only ran 18 times, or they only ran 17 times officially. 53 in total. It was 53. They ran 17 times for 58 yards, and it felt like when they had UCF on the ropes, they they refused to try and run some clock. They had the opportunity to start playing against the clock instead of UCF, and they chose to play against UCF, and it blew up in their face.
It did, by far. They should have, when they were up by double digits in the third quarter, that's when they should have ran the ball, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Jake, let me ask you, what did Gus have to say in the presser about the special teams debacle, 3 block kicks, and then did he complain did he complain about the officials and the whole? Was that brought up about?
No, he actually didn't. He did take accountability. He's like, yeah, I'm excited we won, but we had to clean the things up. And I put it in the article. The first half miscues, that was something that he really addressed with the points that were with the field goals that were blocked. But he did say we haven't arrived yet. And that sounds very exciting if you're UCF. If he's saying we haven't arrived yet, you came in with a big road win. Now it feels like you can play against any team. And he talked about the bye week couldn't have come at the more perfect time to get a week off to prepare for Colorado. He said the bye week is absolutely perfect for this team.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that too, Jake, and I wonder how this is going to play the rest of the season. Remember, this season we have 2 bye weeks because of just the way the calendar worked out. Everyone has 2 bye weeks. This is the first one, and they're going to need it with Colorado coming to town, and then going up to Gainesville on those next 2 games. And that's going to be clutch. Jake,
it's going to be a hype week. It's going to be a hype week period.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jake,
Kyle and I
were talking about this. Yeah, Jake, Kyle and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. The heat today was a tremendous factor. 95 degrees after the sun went down. And for UCF's offensive line to be this physical in these conditions, what does that tell you?
It's really good. You know what, though? The Texas heat's very similar to East Coast humidity, I guess, down in Florida. It was so hot. It was steaming. I honestly don't know why I wore this fleece when it was 95 degrees out, but I wanted to rep the Banneret. I've never sweated so much on the field.
Suffer on purpose for the
I don't care.
You don't have to suffer
I don't
for the
care.
brand,
I know, but brand. Roll the sleeves up, Jake. Roll the sleeves up. Roll the sleeves up. That's what you do.
But
was the AC not in the press box or something?
No, that was AC. But when you were down on the field taking pictures, the sun was just so beaming. Like I've never been so hot on a field ever.
Man,
Texas heat's no joke, people. Texas heat's no joke, people.
So what you're saying is you should not wear that in a couple of weeks when Colorado's here on a noon kick potential.
No, don't. Honestly, if you don't want to sweat like a banshee, don't do it.
And neither me or Kyle. Okay, neither me or Kyle should wear fancy stuff.
Kyle was wearing like a collared shirt that you would wear with a suit. I'm like, how is he not dying in the heat?
He's a professional. He's a professional,
and he doesn't listen. I don't know what to say about that.
It's all about the undershirt. And listen, you made a lot of good points here early when I was stepped out. But you mentioned Coach talking about the special teams. You may have already asked this, guys, but what did he say as far as the defensive turnaround? I got to hear what his take was on what that group did and going from giving up the first 7 third downs in a row.
Kyle, he basically said, we had to correct on it. I mean, they played better when it mattered most. Obviously, you don't want to dig yourself in a hole trailing the way they did, but they started getting the stops they needed. Here's the thing that mattered. After the touchdown, when it was 28-7, they only held them to 2 field goals. That's the improvement that you make in the second half to win a game. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. UCF, I was convinced that they were going to throw in the towel when they were down 28-7. I thought they were going to get run out of the building. I really did. But turn it around. They spoke up on the sideline. KJ actually said on the game-winning drive, he said that he looked everyone in the eyes and said, I got y'all. That's what he said.
So, and I'm going to ask, and I bring this up because, Eric, I agree with you that you've said this throughout the week, almost to the point where I'm like, we get it. New Hampshire and Sam Houston, these guys were not. The fact that they converted better on third down than either of those games kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. It does. It does.
Did Coach say anything as far as the offense? First of all, when's the last time we've said the offense carried this team? I'll lead with that. Second, what did Coach say?
2018 probably, but anyway.
I said it's been a while. Like, that's more than half a decade, Jeff Sharon. But was there anything in particular you heard about that he said at halftime or anything like that to get this turnaround going? What was that? Did any of that come up?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was just more just staying locked in and focused and just knowing that they can't quit at all. You know, they still have to make it a game. And Jeff, to make people laugh in there, I put when they were down 28-7, I don't know whose face it was, but he had that mean look on TV on Fox. UCF actually posted that on X. I tagged it in the article because I thought it was funny that even when they were down 28-7, it didn't matter.
Hey, Jake, where would you find that article?
On the Black and Gold Banneret. You just want to bing. Up. That's all. That's all. You just want to hit a bing.
Jake has earned all kinds of bings for covering this game here, and by the way, Jake, I'm posting it. I'm actually running it right now.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be posting it here in just a second. I'm just going to add a couple things.
Yeah, feel free to edit it. I did what you said with the 3 takeaways and all that. I got Gus in the post game, so that was really what I wanted. So, but 100%. Kyle, the best thing that I thought Gus said was, I don't know if you heard or not, but he said we haven't arrived yet. And when someone hears that, it's a very exciting thing.
Well, I think this can be attested to, and this was even said going back to the Patriots and their dynasty in the NFL and all that, right? The statement that kept going when they had a game where they struggled and still won would probably still even apply to the Chiefs now in the NFL, right? These are the games the champions win, right? When they're not playing their best, they find a way. Well, if we're to be taken seriously as people who said, hey, maybe dark horse Big 12 championship candidate, that sort of stuff has to happen. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case with this group. A lot more has to get fixed, has been said many times. But, yeah, that element exists, and I think that goes right with what you were talking about. Yeah.
I was completely blown away that they were able to come back and win that game. UCF fans have every right to celebrate a win like that. 28-7 didn't matter.
Jake, my last question before you go. Tell me about the crowd at TCU. How many UCF fans were there? Where were they?
Not many.
How many of them were going absolutely ballistic when the game was over?
Not many, honestly. I mean, where I'm currently at right now, this one end zone, there was a few of them, but not too much. I will say though, even when UCF was trailing by double digits in the third quarter, a majority of the fans actually walked out of the building in the 200 level, or I don't even know if that's the 200 level, but there was a good amount of fans walking out. And by the time that UCF was driving, more of the stadium actually cleared out. I guess it was just too hot, or they just thought the game was over. But it's actually a nice stadium. I don't know if people would say it's bucket list worthy, but it was a nice stadium. But I was just stunned that people were walking out of there in the third quarter.
Jake, it's Fort Worth nightlife. Trust me, those 20-year-olds have better things to do.
Yeah, you were saying that in the group chat. I was laughing in the press box.
I was a student once. I understand what they're thinking. They're Saturday night in Fort Worth. They got their own scoring. They got it. They're worried. They're more worried about than whether
there are better things to do in Fort Worth.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's what I've been told from people that live there. That's why that's on my list.
Beyond the barbecue. That's right.
Beyond the barbecue. By the way, Jake,
the barbecue, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
the barbecue.
Jake, fantastic hair day, by the way. Great job on the hair.
He's not wrong, actually. Yeah, I'll double down.
I mean, my hairlines are receding. I'll be the first to admit, but I mean, just took a shower in the morning and then combed it, slick it back. So I got to try and grow it to not make it look like it's too receding.
Jake, you stick with us at UCF. I got news for you. It's not going to do much good for your hairline. I'm telling you.
How do you think my Oklahoma State Cowboys were against Arkansas last week?
Yeah.
Oh, we got someone here.
Who's in the house? It's Trace.
Trace.
Guys.
Robert. Oh, L2. Hey, Robert. What's up, buddy?
I just wanted to say hi.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the live shot.
I had to say hi. I had to say hello to my favorite person on the internet, Elo.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Back to the night shift. See you guys.
Oh, enjoy the nightlife.
Safe travels, fellas.
See, I told you the nightlife.
Jake, be honest with me. Did they behave themselves or what?
They did. Yes, they did. They did.
Okay, and they treated you okay?
Yes, they did.
Good, because I'm going to have
Trace was the first one that I met, and he actually recognized me. He's like, I saw you on the night shift. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, good.
So that was perfect.
If something went down and Trace, started acting up, we were going to have a conversation about that.
No, okay? He was perfectly fine. I think he joked saying, I got to get a new hobby when they were down 28-7.
I can relate to. I can understand that.
We can definitely relate sometimes. But wow, what a night! So Jake, what's the article is up right now on blackandgoldbanneret.com. We've got including your breakdowns and the Gus Malzahn post game press conference.
KJ Jefferson's post game is also upload to the channel. I got Gus and KJ on the channel.
Yes. All right. And Jake, when are we going to see you next? What's next for you?
You can see me. Actually, I'll be with UCF. I will be in Morgantown at West Virginia. Maybe that game's going to be very pivotal. I mean, West Virginia lost the game late against Pittsburgh today, so I don't know about how West Virginia will be doing that here.
Speaking of devastating losses,
that was brutal.
The backyard brawl.
I caught the end of that game before TCU UCF kicked off.
Yeah,
that was brutal.
West Virginia was up 10 with 4 minutes to go and blew it in Pittsburgh. That was a huge,
ouch.
As big as it was for Pittsburgh, it was twice as bad for West Virginia to lose that game. Wow.
Yeah, easily.
And I'll tell you what, the events of today I think we need to start thinking about like, all right, what's the path to the Big 12 championship game at this point too? Because
the fact that UCF got this win, it's in good position for them.
Yeah,
we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Get ahead of ourselves there.
That is true, but I'm just saying it's good that they won today.
Jake, I expect better from you, Jake. You're a Miami Dolphin fan like me. If there's anything we should not do is look ahead, because boy, that's just headed for disappointment.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth.
What we can do is look at things past said. In this particular game, if it went well, and in the terms of a W, obviously not a perfect execution, but it is a first step to get things going, to start getting some steam, right? You got the buy, and then you can use that to pick up and tweak whatever you need to do, but whatever, get any injury concerns maybe off the ground there that you can. I'm not saying, for example, that Johnny Walker is going to be back, anything like that, but get guys back healthy and into a space, going to some big game opponents that'll get a lot of negative exposure, but won't necessarily be, how you say, great teams to beat.
Yeah, for sure.
Going to do some math on RJ Harvey here in a little bit, but Jake, hey, thank you so much once again for your help
for letting me cover this game.
And no problem, man.
First UCF game was actually a thrilling game. It was my first one.
This one was wild, man.
One to remember.
Yeah. And you've, like, you helped us out on basketball last year as well, and you were tremendous doing that, and we're really looking.
You know what? I just realized this. So both times I've seen UCF play TCU, I saw the basketball play TCU in March, and I went to Terry Black's barbecue before the game. Today, I went to Terry Black's barbecue before the game. They ended up winning another nail biter. So if any time UCF's playing TCU in Fort Worth, just any Knight fan, listen, make sure you go to Terry Black's in Dallas. That's it.
Listen,
if it brings me luck with them, it's got to bring others luck.
Yeah,
and they take some heart pills.
Go
to TJ Black's and then get some heart pills, because the nail biter aspect is the key thing there.
They still need to get you. That's all I'm saying, man. You've been hyping them up all week, bro.
Jake, thanks again. Where can Knight fans follow you for all the latest that you're working? Because I know you got a bunch of irons in the fire, as they say.
Yes. The banner posted me on Instagram, JakeXF_, and you can follow me on X, 18JXXX18. I also do work for the Ottawa Senators at SendShot, that I just landed for that, and I'm also still covering the Dallas Mavericks at the Smoking Cuban, and of course the Black and Gold Banneret.
Congratulations, Jake, on a job well done, and we got your piece up right now on Black and Gold Banneret right now. UCF gives TCU hell with 21-point comeback. Jake
and
Ferraro.
if anybody is wondering that saying, after TCU plays their lickety zoo, there's one person or whoever it was that says, "Give them hell, TCU." So I figured, why not have a little parody in there?
I appreciate it, man. Nice touch.
Makes sense now. It makes sense, though.
I like it. All right. Hey, safe travels back home. All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Jake. All right. Jake Ferraro. What an ace, man. He was Jake. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Jake was an Oklahoma State student who reached out to Bryson, right? Or
It was actually an old UCF. So it was a UCF professor that I had that moved to Oklahoma State, who
Yeah.
Jake had. So it was the professor that ended up connecting us, actually.
Yeah. So, and he reached out to us and was like, "Hey, let's, do you need any help covering some basketball?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." Fantastic job doing that, and fantastic job covering his first UCF football game today. And I know we're probably going to get some asks from the folks out there on socials, like, "Hey, we need to send Jake to every road game now. It's just required because he's that good." All right. Do we want to look at? Yeah, I know. Do we want to look at some comments here from the from Night Nation here, Kyle, Bryson, and Eric?
Well, Brian Murphy says we need to have a Bing intervention. Just saying. I mean,
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite come through as well on the microphone here. Our boy Matt Brodsky, what do we got?
Imagining Elo as a student leaving early from the Citrus Bowl because he has some scoring to do.
That is harsh. That is Matt, be nice. Eric is muted. Probably for good reason. UCF is currently in
I'm just saying, I defend any student that wants to leave a football game early. I am with you. People don't understand. I understand you. Just stop, quit. Don't worry about these nonsensical old people. Like, oh, you got to stick around for a 4-5 hour marathon of this nonsense. I'm with you, students. I'm with you.
Hey, you never heard me say different either, bro. Just before we get too far down.
Amen to that, brother.
Eric Edwards says UCF is currently in first place in the conference. True. What I thought was interesting, and what I was kind of hinting at earlier, prior to action this weekend, I was messing around on ESPN's FPI, and in the Big 12, they listed UCF as coming into this weekend, having the best percentage chance of winning the Big 12. Now, after the Kansas State win last night over Arizona, Kansas State leapfrogged UCF into first place, but the Knights are currently in second place with a 21.1% chance of winning the conference and a 28.6% chance of making the playoff. I don't know how they calculate any of that. I don't even pretend to want to know how they calculate any of that.
Know how they calculate that exactly.
What I will say is I'm happy to accept those odds. So that's what I'll take. Let's see, what else do we got here?
All right, we got a question for Kyle. Kyle, because you're a fan of the Beefy Boys. That's a quote.
Oh, here comes Murph. All right.
What did you think about the offensive line's performance against a Big 12 defense? I thought they did very well, especially up the middle. Thoughts, Kyle?
Listen, it's hard to really find anything that's flawed. I mean, really, the only mistake I saw was the takedown by Rufeld that canceled out the PI that they finally started calling on Broughton, who was holding Kobe throughout the damn game. Nobody wants to talk about that. Overall, listen, anytime you're able to dominate on the ground to facilitate a comeback like that, Hudson was so open one-on-one, who he was against a man he was beating throughout the night. That's because they couldn't afford to leave the box. They had to help with RJ Harthy and KJ Jefferson and whoever else would put their hands on the ball. Very few actual, I'll say, like one-on-one pressures given up. There were some times where KJ Jefferson had some people in his face because they sent more than they had, but KJ Jefferson will just kind of shrug them off. But anyways, the short version, Murph, man, listen, I've been supportive of this offensive line since last year, and they apparently have only gotten better. Jeff's term is he's folding people. They're folding people in half. They did a lot better in this game than I thought they would. That's what I'll say. And maybe that's kind of why I'm standing on them so high. I did not expect it to go this well in the trenches offensively.
Jessica Sheldon, by the way, says, for us to come back and win this game is outstanding last year. We would have lost this game. This is actually something that's funny that I don't think we've come up with this is very true, because Gus talked about last year about how, we didn't win the close games. But this is a close game we actually won. I think we said the reverse Baylor game, but I think this is an even better way to put it. because, yeah, I mean, UCF would have had a good year last year had they won the close games. And this year they actually won a close game.
Well, to win a close game against a conference opponent on the road this early in the season is a big confidence booster, especially now that you're heading into the bye week and you got Coach Prime in Colorado 2 weeks out from now. And all eyes are going to be on you.
Prime time. Prime time. Prime time. They smoked the crap out of Colorado State today. Fox, do your job. Big noon kick. I want to see Urban Meyer, Rob Stone, the other clowns, noon Eastern. I want Kyle to meet Joe Clapp.
28-9 against Colorado State. I wouldn't call that smoking them.
I mean, look, I mean, the problem is
the
that
spread.
The problem is that Deion's got to give Florida State fans something to root for.
Listen,
Well,
the only danger really in Colorado coming to town with that offensive line, once Lee Hunter and Ricky Barber get a hold of them, if they weren't in their final year of eligibility, Deion would probably try to recruit them. I'm just saying,
Eric Edwards, by the way, agrees with your point, agrees with your sentiment, Eric, that
Make it happen.
It might be big
noon kick, baby. Noon. Let's go. I want breakfast.
I don't mind. Hey, I don't mind it being noon for this particular reason. Those guys coming down from beautiful Colorado in that high altitude where it's 72 degrees every day, coming down here, 95-degree heat and the sun, 12 noon in hot and humid Florida. Good luck.
Well, I think Kyle's point, I agree. This is a dream matchup for UCF at the line of scrimmage. They should own this game. I honestly am not concerned about this game. I think UCF can name their score. The cool thing about it is we get to see Prime in person. And I think the best pro prospect we're going to see all year, Travis Hunter, who's a stud of a football player. And it's going to be an excellent, excellent football player in the next level. That's going to be fun. But as far as
100%.
100%.
Well, here's the problem. Defensively, he may be rendered irrelevant. You might see him make some plays as a receiver, but
I agree.
Football on him, it looks like.
And that's going to be interesting is, does UCF attack him in that, force him to make tackles, to your point, like run at him, I think is interesting. Does he want to, feel that physical pain? I think that's going to be some of the matchups we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks. I actually disagree about having the bye week now. I'd rather have the bye week after Colorado and into Florida.
Don't they have?
That's a good point.
I see what you're saying.
Because you know why? Because Florida's got the bye week right before us.
All that means is that they're going to fire Billy Napier before we get to him. Darn it.
Well, I mean, Matt Brodsky says it's a good time for a bye to get those healed, to get stuff healed up. I mean, to be fair,
it's less the healing, Bryson, for me, and more for fixing the stuff like the special teams and getting 3 kicks blocked.
By the way, Kyle, Christopher McGee says calling KJ my guy is a bold move. This was his first good game.
Hey, I wrote a column. By him. I'm riding and sinking. I'm sinking the ship with him. I'm riding, or whatever the cliche is.
No,
he's sinking or swimming.
I don't know that I was the one that called KJ my guy, but okay, listen.
I did. No, he's referencing me. He's referencing about me.
Yeah.
Listen, by the way, at this point, he's only gotten better with every game. There's somebody on this panel that said this would happen. So I guess I, too, am somebody who lives dangerously, according to that comment.
Yeah, everybody overreacted to the first preseason game, which is what everybody always does.
Welcome to fanhood, right?
I'm trying to look for the sacks numbers here.
Jeff, this is something that I found an interesting comment. Mark Soskin says this game reminded him of the 2000 Alabama game, way down at the half and won by a field goal at the end.
Not so much.
You're going way back on me on that. And I've watched that game before, by the way.
I think the Florida game in a couple of weeks is going to be more similar to the Alabama game. Where
it's I have a hard time. I have a hard time comparing games that far back to games that are now, because this is a conference game in the Big 12. And that was
cool, but
that was supposed to be a body bag game for Alabama, and we came in there, stole their money and their win. So, it's a much different situation. I did see a question from Brodsky said it was more like the Louisville comeback in 2013. Does UCF have a sack this season? Yes, but we are dead last in team sacks with. Am I seeing?
Well, I'm going to defend the defense. I'm going to defend the
sack?
defensive line of that.
By the way, there were no
defense.
sacks in the game today, and there were no turnovers in the game today.
There were a lot of pressures, though. There were pressures.
Right.
Pressures
like
are pressures. That's
a sacks is a little overrated when the quarterback you're throwing the ball in like half a second with quick passes. It's a little misleading. So I wouldn't get too caught up in that. I mean, TCU was throwing the ball like quick. I mean, Kendall Briles for 3 quarters had that was the scheme, was go quick, crossing routes, quick, get rid of the ball quickly.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did the Know Thy Foe for our sister site, Frogs of War, for TCU on SB Nation. I cited that the biggest issue they have to challenge isn't so much the DBs. I could take or leave them in comparison to Ricky Barber and Lee Hunter. And I think that quick release strategy, Eric, is how you take those dudes out the game, right? Lots of plays outside, lots of plays over the top. Get it out of there before any opportunity to hit the quarterback is had.
Yeah. I should clarify one thing. UCF does have 1 total sack on the season, but they are tied with the following teams: Colorado State, FAU, Fresno State, Georgia Southern, and then here's where it gets interesting: Notre Dame, Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech all have only 1 sack coming into this weekend.
That's interesting.
So
I mean, I think this is why, like, again, sacks are a bit overrated. Is it great to get them? Yes, but I think pressuring the quarterback is what really got them into some of these situations. I saw Ethan Barr, by the way, doing some really great jobs in that department this year. The line, I don't think I really ever got to really get into this, but we talked about Deshaun Pace. You had Ethan Barr out there. The linebacking core, I think, absolutely proved themselves tonight.
I got a little
in the
bit
sense that this showed how improved they were from last year, because I don't think last year's linebacker room would have been able to do the stuff that they were able to do.
Yeah, I got a little bit worried when Ethan got hurt earlier in the game too.
Yeah,
I don't know if he got like the wind knocked out of him or something. But you mentioned the linebacking core, and Ethan did a fine job. He was right in position on a couple of things. Almost got an interception, I think, on a key little pass over the middle. He just missed. Deshaun Pace led UCF in tackles today with 11 total tackles. I mentioned this earlier, he had 3 tackles on that key 3 and out that got UCF the ball back for the game-winning touchdown. He was an absolute ace today. Actually, I take that back. He wasn't an ace. He was the Joker, because that's what he told me his nickname was the Joker. So he was the Joker today, man. Unbelievable. Deshaun Pace, what a find from Cincinnati. He was a problem with them, and I'm glad he's with us now.
A linebacker leading the tackle numbers is a great sign. Something that I saw happen throughout this game that didn't last year. A player hits the running back and it stops.
Yeah.
There's no falling forward. There's no, I'm going to carry you for this many yards. They stop, whether it's Pace, Barr. Heck, I saw some DBs make tackles like that, actually getting aggressive and getting into the box and getting involved. Does that sound familiar from last year, Eric Lopez?
It really does. It does.
Matt asked us, I want to drop this one here. TCU on their final drive, how on earth was that not an incomplete pass over the middle of the field late?
Because he caught the ball, Matt.
I thought he caught the ball. I thought he got it under. He got his hand underneath it. I thought that was fine.
All right, listen. As a fan base, seriously, stop worrying about the officials. Stop worrying about the officials. You're not going to get every call. You're going to get some calls against you. Deal with it. Just deal with it.
I mean, speaking of
calls, did they get a big one, Eric, at the end of the game with the fumble by Pittman, right?
I was just about to talk about that. I remember watching that, and I was like, and my brother, who loves to troll me, was sitting behind me eating, and he was like, oh, he fumbled the ball. I'm like, no, he's down. It's not going to, I didn't think they were going to confirm it, but I thought it was going to stand. The fact that they confirmed it just tells me, like, okay, yeah, the officials are like,
I think it was a fumble, but it's too close to change it. Like, if they would have called it a fumble on the field, I think they would have stayed with it.
Exactly. That's why I thought it was going to stand. I didn't think they would have just confirmed the dang thing.
I think they misspoke with that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I will say Matt does bring up one that I thought was a real head scratcher, which was the fair catch when Xavier Townsend got hit. Either it's an invalid fair catch signal, which is a penalty, and I have seen called before in a Super Bowl, no less, or it's a 15-yard penalty for catch interference. It can't be neither. It can't be.
Clearly, it
neither.
was.
They
'Cause
missed
it was
that.
neither.
Well, it wasn't.
Listen,
they botched that one.
There's going to be 90 plays in a game. Coaches will be the first to tell you this. If you're worried about a call here or there from the officials, you don't deserve to win the game. Period.
It's not being worried about it, Eric. It's about, hey, a game can turn on a play like that.
But none of those were determining. It was not going to determine the game. None of the complaining tonight about any of the stuff you guys have complained about officiating had nothing to do on the results. Be more upset about having 3 kicks blocked, which I've never seen in my life. To me, if
we can be upset about both.
I think the 3 kicks are much more egregious. That's not even like the game is done. Like it's a done deal. You see wins that going away.
Oh, you're right. You're right about that. But it's something that needs to be discussed.
Oh, trust me, I railed on that earlier, Relo. I mean,
officiating is fine. It's not great, but that's not what's going to cost you a game. Not in this Big 12. I mean, good Lord, if you watch enough Big 12, you already know that you're going to have some calls go against you. The kick. What is the answer to that? What that debacle of the special teams? Give me an answer.
Block better.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I mean, I can't put hand on this.
I didn't say it was a hard answer. I didn't say it was a complicated question.
Block the guys. I mean, it's.
I really wasn't trying to be a smartass. Like that's what it boiled down to. Was the outside was soft on blocking that edge. That's all there was to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't. You only have to hold that block for a fraction of a second on a field goal, right, Kyle?
Well, in fairness,
snap, spot, balls up.
Yeah, that dude coming on the edge was a burner. A hand on him.
And sometimes, and look, sometimes I was more concerned about the one that came straight up the middle. That was a real concern. I think that was which one was that, Kyle? Was that the field goal at the end of the half? I forget which one it was.
I forget if it was that or because there were 2 field goals and an extra point, right?
Right.
I think it was the extra point that the middle happened, and that was pathetic. As somebody who played on field goal team, yeah, no, there's no excuse.
Yeah, you can't have a guy coming straight up the middle. I mean, the rules are actually set up so that you basically can't get a block up the middle unless you just olay the guy. I mean, it's
he just pushes you through. Yeah, like unless you're loose, and just come on, man.
You can't leap. You can't have anybody over the long snapper. It's. I don't know what happened. I would love to be in the film room for that one.
They don't want Bryson in there. I know that.
Yeah. Look, I mean,
Bryson was ready to cut people there.
All I would say is I would just be the one saying block, block, block. I mean, I don't know what else to do or what else I would be able to do, like get set, close the gaps, or what that type of stuff. Eric Edwards, by the way, I wish Pace would tackle with his arms at 3rd down. He almost missed the tackle. I'm going to actually flip the script on this.
Dude, he made 3 tackles. He took over the game on that possession. Like, no, I mean, come on.
I'm going to flip the script on this because I think that might have been arguably have been because I think the second tackle with the screen probably was better, but I think the argument could be made that the 3rd down one was a little bit better because if Deshaun Pace was not there to obstruct that runner, he might not have brought him down, but he obstructed him long enough for the rest of the defense to come in and grab him and get him down so that way they could force the punt.
Yeah.
That's my argument.
I think that's true. I mean, I think I don't know if he got credit for a tackle on that play, but I mean, he took over that possession. I mean, that was impressive. When UCF I love it when I see a situation where like we need someone to come through right now and someone steps up and makes the play. That showed me something because you don't see that a lot on defense these days.
It's funny. Matt J says, huge win. We have a team of winners. And that kind of echoes your point a little bit, I think, Jeff.
I would bring this in real quick too. Eric made the point earlier that no other quarterback other than Mackenzie Milton wins this game. I don't think that's a bad statement. What I will say is it's very interesting to see what happens when Gus has a healthy quarterback for a road game in the conference. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
You really
it's a system. Yeah.
You don't think Bortles would have won this one? He did win the Louisville game.
I said post Milton. Post Milton.
Post Milton. Okay.
Like Mikey Keene ain't winning that game. Billy Gabriel for sure as hell ain't winning that game. And as much as I like John Rice Plumlee, I don't think he wins that game either.
No, there's some. I mean, as much as people are criticizing KJ's arm, Plumlee just did not have the same delivery, is what I'll say. Would he have been tall enough to get it over some of these linemen? Like, that's the difference.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like apples to oranges, isn't it? Like JRP was more of a speed guy. He relied entirely on his
there would be more rollouts, perhaps. That's
blazing speed, and KJ is a power runner. It's like the difference between, Chris Johnson and Jamal Lewis, right? I mean,
you're not wrong, but here's the reason why I say what I say, Jeff, is if you get in a situation where you have a guy in your face and you're surprised by it, and you don't have the opportunity to skid out and move all that.
I got you now. Yeah.
Yeah. There were enough times where they sent more guys than everyone else had, and JRP would have had to have tried to escape, and he's not looking down the field after that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point.
And more importantly, this team the offense has an identity. This is who they are.
That is a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
And what I liked about it was Gus didn't go away from the run when they were down 3 touchdowns, and everybody's like, "Oh, this game's over." No, it's not. You keep going with your strength, and he stuck with it. And I think he wore down that TCU defense, and then it allowed KJ to make the throws in the fourth quarter, which is the money quarter for the quarterbacks. I don't care what he does in the first quarter, second quarter. Win those games in the fourth quarter. That's why he's here.
Have we talked yet about the missed route by Kobe to close the half? Because boy, does that change the makeup of the game.
Do we want to do that? I thought that was the one mistake he made in the entire game.
I'm just touching on just something, just another self-inflicted wound. I'm not dissing Kobe. He still had a good football game, but just yet another thing that this offense had to overcome. The list of self-inflicted wounds. Insanity. At least penalties.
Well, the bigger issue is how do you get it? I mean, yes, you're right, because Kobe stopped on the route. I mean, if he continues, that's a touchdown. He's open. He's wide open. But the bigger issue is the block kick. The block kick. What are we doing? Why I'm on meds tonight.
Matt J actually asked, speaking of that, Blackman hot seat. How long can we have issues with special teams before this dude gets?
No, we're not. We're not going to get into who's fired. They're not. Nobody's getting. I hate when. Can we stop firing people during the season? Unless you're in Florida, or if you want to fire people in Florida during midseason, I get it.
Speaking of which, the vultures are circling over Billy Napier after that disaster.
As well they should. But I would rather hear from Gus. Obviously, we're not going to hear from him this week, but I would assume leading up to the Colorado week on what they saw in the special teams. Heck, the coordinators might be talking about that at some point. But I think it's more about what went wrong and can they fix it. I understand the concern. I'm not letting them off the hook, but we're not firing people on Saturday night.
Eric, I do have a question.
2 weeks to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric, I have a question for you because you talked about offensive identity, and I just realized something because I was thinking about how you said that. Is this reminding you a little bit of 2013 Auburn a little bit? Because with Trey Mason and
100%. This is your prototypical Gus Malzahn offense with a much thicker quarterback version of Nick Marshall, with the power running game and constantly go at you and try to wear you down. I had no problems with the offense tonight. I thought the offense, I liked it. I think it's going to come down to this defense and which defense do we see? Do we see more of the defense of the fourth quarter? Do we see more of the defense that we saw through the first 2-3 quarters? I think some people brought up how concerned should we be about the secondary. I am very concerned about the secondary.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there were some moments on there where I was like, did these guys forget how to tackle? Because there was some times where I feel like they really should have brought somebody down.
And they're definitely going to face better quarterbacks than they faced tonight. They made Hoover look like Andy Dalton, for crying out loud.
I mean, I don't know that to be facing Cam Rising. That's what's one guy that it appears they won't be facing, unfortunately. But there are others out there. They'll be facing Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter as a combo.
Well, and if they allow him to get time, he will light them up. If they give him time, that's going to be the game. That's a simple game to figure out.
But
Do they put
allowing him to have time, that's not on the secondary. That's on the defensive front.
Correct. In that particular game, because Colorado's offensive line is bad. But there's going to be other teams that I think you're right. They're going to be more talented. But hopefully they can get it under their,
I do think that the one concern I have about the secondary is the injury situation right now. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Brandon Adams. They were saying on the telecast that was a cramp that he suffered, but I don't think he came back in. And then obviously, Damari Henderson we have not seen him yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's two key guys right there. Hopefully that all gets sorted out during the bye week, but as usual, the number one ability that is the highest concern is availability. Are either of those guys going to be there? I don't know. But fortunately, we were. I think Matt J mentioned this just now. We were able to stop the run. I mean, that was going to be the key.
Isn't it nice to have a different problem finally?
Well,
no, yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, right? I mean, the fact that you weathered a 400-yard storm from Sonny Dykes' offense in their building in 95-degree heat and came back from down 21 in the second half, that should be appreciated. No, I mean,
no, because I'm going to say no, because TCU let him off the hook by not running the ball. I was stunned. That's why I never thought
it's not our fault.
Game. No, but my point is, I think other teams will test that defensive line that didn't get tested tonight.
There are more tests coming, Elo. I agree with you on that. But listen, when I was talking to Austin from Frogs of War, one of the questions was specific to how great their receiver core is. It kind of tipped me off that they aren't trying to plan to run the ball that much. Granted, I expected at least 20 times, which we did not get. And I think we talked about this in the chat that we had. I don't know if it was that they abandoned it or they chose not to. Then
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Then if they chose not to, did they choose not to because the pass game was working so well early and they didn't adjust? Or were they afraid to because they saw indicators of, they might smash us because Lee Hunter and Ricky Barber are awesome? There's still a lot of questions with that. And I think you're right. They're going to get tested, granted, not Colorado, maybe not Florida. I think Arizona might be a game where they try to run on them.
West Virginia, Iowa State. I mean, there's some teams there that I think will try to challenge them.
Yeah. There you go. So there are rougher teams coming up is definitely the point.
My sense was that they didn't even bother to try because I think that, Sonny decided that, okay, this team is weak in the back in the secondary.
Right.
We're going to, and Sonny's an air raid guy, he's going to throw the ball. So, he had two elite receivers, a third one who was very good. He's going to try and press that advantage as much as he possibly can. And he did. It eventually blew up in his face. And that's what happens. We saw this when he was at SMU, right?
And somebody in the comments make a good point. That kid Hoover is still a young quarterback. KJ's been through this before.
Yeah.
I think he had an experience edge that TCU in these situations where KJ's been in these close games. Bryson literally saw him a year ago do this close win in the swamp in Gainesville. So, I told you guys, KJ's not going to be fazed by the atmosphere in freaking Fort Worth or.
Well, I don't think Hoover was fazed either. He played great.
That's more about the defense being phased. If you ask me, Elo.
Well, but I'm just saying, in general, having been there, done that. He knows what to do. I thought the false start was actually on Hoover because he was going hard count and the lineman jumped. Why? You're at the 1 yard line. You're trying to be. You don't need to force that.
Well,
I'm putting that on the lineman. They know better.
It is on the lineman. Where Eric has a fantastic point is why hard count there. You don't gain anything. You get half.
Correct. That's my point. Why? I think a veteran quarterback gets that.
Yeah.
But I finally found the rushing passing split for both teams. UCF 54 runs, 22 passes on the day. TCU 17 runs, 53 passes.
Somehow
that
UCF was still more balanced. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Well, and that's a credit to Gus. I mean, I know everybody loves nitpicking Gus's play calling. God knows every freaking call gets nitpicked. But I'm just saying, I've always been pro Gus, the play caller. I've never had an issue with the play calling. I think the play calling gets overemphasized a lot. Is he perfect? No. I have news for you. There's no such thing as a perfect play caller.
Well, yeah. Okay, Eric, I'm glad you brought that up because I completely agree with you on this. Shocker. Because someone explained this to me. I forget who it was. And I wish I could give them credit for it. They said, when you hear people complain about play calls, okay, it's like complaining that you got dealt, 7 queen in playing Texas Hold'em. It's like, is it really, there are so many things that could go wrong, that can blow up, a play. It's not like, any coach decides to run a play deciding, oh, well, I'm going to screw up this down so I can set something up later. No, they're all aiming for success here. And I think what goes to that, I think this was another pretty interesting stat here. Average yards per completion today. TCU threw for 402 yards. They averaged 11.5 yards a completion. UCF threw for 230, completed only 13 passes for 17.7 yards per completion. So that's big time money every time we go back to another one. And it would have been even more were it not for a couple of bad breaks. So,
that being said, you want to see bad play calling? Watch FSU football. That's bad.
Or no, I was saying like there's no such thing as a perfect play caller, but I'm like, yeah, I mean you look at Pete Carroll and Pete Carroll.
Yeah, he was stupid for running the ball at the 1 yard line, and that's Pete being dumb. Absolutely. I agree. I'm not saying that you don't question play calling. I'm just saying that I think Gus gets too much criticism for play calling that I don't think it's more. Is there stuff you can pick on, like the trick play against Oklahoma? Absolutely. But But I feel like he gets the LeBron James treatment where everybody criticizes any decision he makes in every possession of an NBA game because we have social media. Like, I think Gus, since he's been here, I would probably have agreed with about 95 to 96% of his play calling. I had no issues with Darren Hitchall's play call or whoever's play calling was last year. I think, again, you want to see bad play calling? The Florida State head coach who makes $10 million went for 2 for some inexplicable reason, down 11. That's when you have the right to criticize bad play call.
Mike Norvell catching strays.
He was bad. He's bad. We saw this up close. He hasn't learned.
What is it about? Because you know what's funny is I'm getting serious like 2017, 2018 flashbacks where both FSU and UF are absolutely terrible, and I feel like that that UCF is just better than both of them right now.
Listen, all I know is that if they're not good,
I don't think
I'm enjoying it. And I'm going to sit back and enjoy it as much as I possibly can.
I am not one that's going to talk smack on the other side. If the TCU kicker makes a 57-yard field goal, we're talking about 3 winless teams in the state, or 3 bad.
If he kicks like Matt Peter, maybe.
No, yeah, an absolutely fair point there. But then again, you think about this. I think it's almost like the same situation you would be in after the 2013 Louisville game, because and how that season ended up panning out.
Well, the big difference there is Louisville was legitimately good. I don't think we know what TCU is yet. I don't know if that team is really good. It's a big win, but the Louisville game, you knew once you won that game, you were going to win the American Conference title. This game, it might just be the difference between 5th place and 8th place.
Well,
we don't know. We don't know.
To be fair, Eric, back in 2013, there were several close calls after that Louisville game.
You want to talk about criticizing play calling? Criticize that head coach back then.
Cardiac Knights, started there for a reason.
The spiders.
But
remember, TCU was lucky to beat Stanford week 1. So again, let's not compare this, and let's not compare that team to 13 or 17. It's its own different identity, its own different team. What it does do, it gives you an opportunity to because you're going to be favored heavily against Colorado. You might be favored against Florida at this rate. So you could be 5-0 ranked in the top 20 going in, and then Cincinnati will be a heavy favorite. I mean, you should be really have a good chance to be 6-0 going into Ames, Iowa.
Do you really think the writers will put them that high, Eric? I am not.
Well, I was going to ask that.
that.
I was going to ask that next. Is UCF in the top 25? Are they receiving votes? What are we thinking?
Oh, they'll receive votes a little bit. Now, I don't think to Kyle's point. I mean, I don't know. We got to see what the back part of the top 25 looked like today. I don't know what the results were, but the next 2 weeks you might have enough results.
Boston College had a quality loss against a Missouri team, so they'll have a week to put them ahead of UCF.
We're really doing that again,
dude.
I mean, it's true. He's right. I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Honestly, okay. I don't think UCF is going to get into the top 25 unless they go on the road and beat Iowa State, and even then, that's if
they're undefeated going to Ames, Iowa. I promise you, they will be ranked. We're talking middle of October. They will be ranked. I'm not saying they're going to be ranked super high. I'm just saying they're going to be ranked. Trust me, put anybody. It's not. Everybody thinks getting to the top 25 is hard. It's not that hard to get in ranked. It changes a lot.
I mean, to be fair, if you give the answer to Notre Dame and that answer or Miami, then I'd believe you. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard.
I'm kind of picking up what Bryson's putting down here, Elo. I hear you, but man, I don't know.
I didn't say they'd be ahead of Notre Dame. I'm just saying they could 25. If they're ranked 25, that's ranked. I'm not saying they're going to be ranked over Notre Dame.
Notre Dame
nor
did
should
drop
they.
66 on Purdue today.
That is true.
Oh, Purdue.
Don't. What are we doing?
What if Northern Illinois wins the MAC?
Oh yeah, they're going to be making a run to try to be that 12th playoff team, Eric Lopez, at this point.
Yeah, UNLV might have something.
UNLV, the best team in the Big 12. Really, the team to beat in the Big 12 is UNLV. We're not in first place. They are.
Accurate.
Well, that's that fairy tale is going to come to an end when they play my Syracuse Orange next week. Let's just put that on the board right now.
That's going to end, and it's going to get you as well.
Oh wait, Jeff, is Syracuse at home? Is it home?
Yeah, that game's at Syracuse, I believe.
Okay, then I believe you.
Check,
Syracuse has magical powers when they're at home. I don't know how.
Wow!
Magical powers.
We got breaking news. Murph is optimistic about UCF football. Murph, are you on the same? Did you take the meds that I did?
What?
Look at that. He said they're a legitimate contender to win the Big 12. I state if Murph says it.
Didn't we say that they were like a dark horse contender though before the season? I feel like this is old news.
I will say this: with Cam Rising out of the picture in Utah,
how long is he out? Do we know?
It's an extended period of time, but I don't know how long he's out.
I'll try and double check and see.
And that's the point you're making. It's a good one. Black Friday is literally the last regular season game. If he's going to be back, he will be back for that. And by then, UCF has to have its stuff together if it truly, truly wants to end up in a championship game. I mean, the scenario I see is that if they win that game, they'll lose the rematch in the championship to Utah.
There's no definitive evidence about Cam Rising. He was essentially a game time decision for today's game against Utah State. Interestingly, Utah's starting quarterback is the younger brother of Zach Wilson, Isaac Wilson. So,
oh boy,
yeah.
For the record, on top 25 and how that's been going, number 23 Nebraska took care of Northern Iowa. Michigan beat Arkansas.
Nebraska's going to be 7-0 going into Columbus. I'm telling you.
And then Oklahoma took care of Tulane. So I feel like the top 25 isn't going to change that much. Maybe, I don't think it's going to change that much, honestly.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I want to correct myself. Syracuse is playing UNLV in Vegas, but I don't care. Give me the orange.
Ooh, Vegas.
No, they're not at home. They're going to lose. They're not at home.
Well, UNLV doesn't really have a home stadium either. They play in Allegiant. So eat that.
Our
dome is better than their dome.
Yeah, but UNLV is actually showing promise after that win.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Give me my boy Kyle McCord. So, all right. Anything else we want to hit? as we now cross over the hour 40-minute barrier. 100.
NyQuil really works well, guys. I recommend NyQuil if you're
NyQuil?
really.
What, are you
yeah.
falling asleep yet?
No, but I feel much better. I was not feeling good during the game at all. I was coughing. I wasn't coughing. I don't have the cough issue. It's more of the sneezing issue. I'm just sneezing every other next. Now I feel.
I do want to look at some other. I'm looking for some other Big 12 stuff that we want to look at.
I do agree with Matt J, who's been awesome, by the way. I agree with him. I don't think they get ranked this week, but if like they beat Colorado and they're still undefeated, yeah, I could see them being ranked going into Gainesville, Florida. I don't
for one reason, because everyone's going to say, "Oh, well, we're going to be the team that they beat somebody of note, and because UCF beat them, they'll no longer be a good team, so they won't get the credit for it."
Oh, in fairness, that's you just described the entire Big 12.
Well, Utah beat Utah State earlier today, 38-21. That was in Logan. Oklahoma State handled Tulsa 45-10. Cincinnati over Miami of Ohio 27-16. Whoopity-doo. Texas Tech dropped 66 on North Texas. We talked about Pitt knocking off West Virginia in dramatic fashion. Baylor 31-3 over Air Force. Colorado managed to hold off Colorado State 28-9. Houston over Rice 33-7, no big whoop there, and BYU over Wyoming, who's 0-3. BYU's 3-0, 34-14 in Laramie. So not a really overly noteworthy Saturday in the Big 12. Really, the big games were, like I said, I was impressed with Kansas State yesterday and the way they handled Arizona. That team's going to be good.
Are we not surprised? We were like subjected to them firsthand last year, and DJ Giddens. I feel like this has been Giddens. That was a prelude to what Giddens is doing.
I'm glad we are not playing them in the regular season again.
It is worth noting, by the way, that Kansas State Arizona game is a non-conference game that was scheduled.
That's right. That was an unusual situation. So,
which is not good for the Big 12. As far as if you think the Big 12 is going to be a multi-bid league, that is not good. Actually, that they played, in my opinion. Now to the fact that Kansas has proven to be a fluke because their quarterback forgot how to be a quarterback. So outside of that, the league's doing. And West Virginia has come back to earth as well. But outside of that, we're good. One bid league, baby.
Outside of that, we're good. All right. I'm good right here, guys. What do you feel? How do you feel? What's our last bit we want to talk about before we head out and let these people go to bed?
Yeah, I need to. I'm going to be on a plane in like a few hours. Oh, geez. I honestly, I think I'm feeling a similar way that I did again after the New Hampshire game, where there's a lot of stuff to be happy about. There's only but what we are dissatisfied about, we are very dissatisfied about, if you kind of catch my drift. Because RJ, KJ, Kobe, Line, great job. Like, they saved this game. And the defense too. Deshaun Pace, Ethan Barr, great. But we won despite ourselves in this one. And so the fact is that the special teams needs to shape up and basically stop throwing these little pebbles in front of us for us to trip over. Because this is how we do last year, where we lose close games. We are lucky we ended up getting this one. So let's fix that going forward. Bye week couldn't have come at a better time, and now it's time for UCF to start, making a name for itself, playing against Prime, and then going up to Florida.
You will never hear me complain about a conference win on the road.
I'm not complaining.
I don't care how. There are no style points in football. This is, as I've said before, this ain't figure skating.
College football, there is.
You get that win however you can in conference play and let the chips fall. I'm happy with this one. This is a tremendous win.
Yeah, tell that to Florida State last year.
It is a tremendous win, but it came despite ourselves. Like, if we do this again in games in the future, we're going to lose. Like, in the sense of like
the mistakes, right? The mistakes you got to clean up, fix that. Okay. Special teams. Fine. It's been an issue, no doubt.
But you know what? We found a way to win. So I'm not going to complain about. I'm never going to complain about that.
I find it ironic.
That's all I have to say about that.
I find it ironic in a game where we beat TCU that he says style points don't matter. I think TCU fans might disagree after their history, Jeff.
Absolutely. Georgia just scored against them again.
Yeah.
That's what they'll be known for.
One of my favorite
Listen,
comments about that game was, this could have been an email. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
My final thought is this: Fox Sports, we've not gone along all the time. And yes, I was very annoyed tonight about how many freaking times you brought up the fact that Rob Stone's kid goes to school at TCU and you brought Rob Stone in the booth. But all can be forgiven. All can be forgiven. Can be given if you do the right thing. And come Monday, you announce that UCF is hosting Colorado at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 9 Pacific, and bring good old Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt, and the All-American girl, Jenny Dell, to Orlando for a rare noon game. So Kyle can meet Joe Klatt and Gus. I will meet Jenny Dell. And oh yeah, if you want to bring Rob Stone and the big noon kick, we will let you have Bryson to throw into the stands like Mark Ingram likes to throw himself into the stands in the pregame show. We will offer you Bryson to throw into the stands and jump with Mark Ingram. We'll do whatever you
Doesn't
want.
Bryson have to consent to this?
He's
Why am I the sacrifice?
me, damn it. I'm too big.
True. Don't depend on UCF for good guess because you'll be disappointed. Just ask game day. But just come to noon. Just come to noon, and all is forgiven, and the world will be a better place. And this win goes up a different level if we host Big Noon Kick and are playing at noon. Otherwise, just another win.
I mean, speaking of game day, we did have issues with Kirk Herbstreit, and game day came anyway. So maybe the point is we have to have issues with the show for them to come here.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all, kids.
Hey, I remember game day fondly, so you will not hear any complaints from me if we get enough.
I predicted it would happen. I predicted it happened, and I had unnamed UCF administrators that I will not mention scoff at me like, no, they will not come to Cincinnati. They hate us. Ooh. Well, they can. And I wrote it. There's an article that proves it. But hey, what do I do?
Hey, man, listen, I didn't scoff at you, but I sure didn't think it was going to happen.
I know you didn't. That's okay. And everybody that's been tuning in, fantastic job. Thank you for tolerating me. I'm under the weather. It's been a miserable week. The Miami Dolphins season ended on Thursday night. I was expecting it not to end for another 4 months, so I'm now a little it's been a tough few days, but thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you, Tom.
Kids, it's been great. What a win for UCF. 35-34 over TCU. Enjoy the week off. We got lots of stuff to talk about on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Make sure you take a look at Jake's article up on there. I'm going to drop this into everyone's podcast feed tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun as well. Thanks to everyone who logged on. Thanks to everyone who sent us comments here. Murph, shout out. Miss you, bud. Brodsky, shout out. Miss you, bud. Yeah, this was a good one. It's always good to do this after a dramatic win in conference. I don't care. It's just the sun is going to shine a little brighter tomorrow morning, and I'll take it anytime. So, Bryson, thank you. Eric, thank you. Kyle, thank you. Jake, who is hopefully on his way back to his hotel, thank you. Win's great, y'all. Enjoy it. Charge on. Enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully, it'll be a good Sunday for those of us watching. So, cheers. All the best. Go Knights. Charge on. Follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com. On Threads at Black and Gold Banneret, Instagram Black and Gold Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, X UCF Banneret _SBN, and of course our YouTube channel, which everyone has been working so diligently on trying to get you all the latest from interviews with coaches across all sports for UCF. So, and by the way, wins are fun indeed, Lonely Bumblebee. Even if it's against a team that you should have beat by 60, you shouldn't have beaten it by 60. Knock it off. God, be happy for once.
I mean, he's got a point, maybe 20 points. 20 points.
Just be happy for crying out loud. Just once. Just
cover
once.
this. Cover the spread.
Once. Just once. They did cover the spread. Be freaking happy that we won a game in conference on the road. Dadgummit. I gotta go before I get angry. All right. Enjoy, guys. Thanks again. This was fun. We'll see you. Enjoy the weekend.